Hi everyone, Zachary Lui here from Taoist Qigong. Today I'd like to talk to you about Daoist Qigong, or the paradigm of Taoism in your Qigong practice. So, first I want to say this is really going to be a brief video because, first off, we are trying to summarize, or at least I'm trying to summarize, thousands of years of theory into a 10-minute video. So it's not going to do justice. So just on that note, don't view this as, oh, this is going to be the end all be all. It's very far from that point for this video in particular. So let's begin with what Taoism is. Taoism is a philosophical system that derived in about the Warring States era when the Greeks were fighting it out with the Persians. Historically, that's around 475 BCE, and this time period goes all the way down to, I think, 200 something BC. So it gets smaller and smaller as the increments of history go down. But with that said, it's about a 250-year period of what we call the Warring States era in China, and that's really where this fertile soil got cultivated for Taoism to arrive. And Taoism, though from an oral tradition, we don't know how long it lasted. From the book, the Daoist Qigong, came about around this time period, the Warring States, and it was really affiliated to someone called Lao Tzu. Now, Lao Tzu was an astrologer in one of the state courts, and then after being a librarian and an astrologer, he was saying, well, alright, this is great, I'm just going to move on now and really relax. So when we look at it from that perspective, when he wrote this treatise on the Daoist Qigong, this treatise was really working on about how do you relax into yourself, how do you relax into the world, how can you be peaceful, and really being in touch with everything. And when we want to look at it from that perspective, there was a slight skew to political stability. Almost every philosophy in the Warring States era did have a skew to political stability, just because if you're in a time of war, you're looking for the best solution to peace. Now, many different schools came about, hence why we have a quote-unquote name called the 100 Schools of Thought, for a reference to the Warring States era. And all these schools of thought had different perspectives, saying, I'm right, this is the way I do it, and Taoism was just one of those schools. Now, flashpoint to the future. When we go into Taoism in the future context of imperial times, Taoism starts to take on a different flavor. Not just because it has a political flavor of how do we cause stability in the country, but then it starts looking at how do you rule yourself in a way, in reference to the great Tao or the universe, and how do you go with the flow of it? How do you not micromanage the people around you in the country? How do you get prosperity without doing anything? Well, when you come to an individual level outside of politics and all this, you really want to look at, well, how do I cause peace in my own life? How can I be in harmony with nature in my own life? And how do I really be in harmony with my emotions so that I can connect to the universe? These are big questions that really the Taoists ask themselves, and in the process of asking themselves, they came with a lot of things as a scientific inquiry. First off, one would be Chinese medicine. If you're in harmony with yourself and the universe, you should naturally be healthy. So hence why we have acupuncture, Chinese herbology, Tui Na or Chinese medical massage, all these types of things, they really got honed on by the Taoists, and they really refined it. So most of our philosophical thinking in terms of Chinese medicine does derive off of Taoist sources. Their meridians, their Taoists, the Wu Sheng, or those organs and their elements per se, though that was a different school of thinking, the Taoists synthesized it and took it into their own philosophical thinking. So you can say, yes, that is a Taoist way of thinking. The Ba Gua, or the 8 trigrams, well, that's also something that's been amalgamated from a different school of thought, but the Taoists took it for themselves. So Taoism took a lot of things from various different schools and synthesized them once imperial times took place and really said, this is ours. And then they started applying it to the physical body, because that's when, if I'm man and the earth is below me and heaven's above me, being the three layers, I should be in harmony with all of them, meaning I should be perfectly healthy. Now, what does this mean from a Qigong perspective now that we understand these building blocks came from Taoism? Well, the idea first of harmonizing with just about everything in the world, uh, being able to turn negative to positive, and just finding a balance between the two poles. Are you too active? Are you too sedentary? Are you moving enough? Are you not moving enough? Yin and yang. When you go into five elements now, are you too hot? Like, are you too fiery? Are you too watery? Are you too earthy? Are you too woody? Or are you too, let's see, woody? Or are you too metal-like? So when we start doing this, it's always an interaction, a mixture, a dance between the five elements, or anything in Taoism is really a dance between opposites. How do I bring everything to balance, and how do I be that equilibrium point? So when we start doing Qigong, then our emphasis, as everyone generally would take it from what Qigong is, how do I get more in touch with my emotions? How do I physically get more in balance? How do I emotionally go toward things I want to move toward? Or there's things that in the past are hindering me that I need to remove and relax into. Really let it go. Things like that. This is all Taoist thinking when we take it as a derivative. And does this really have an inclination in terms of, well, say you're of a different religious group and you say this is incorrect? Well, from a Taoist perspective, we'd just say, hey, we know this has been scientifically worked through from a Chinese paradigm. Philosophically, that's it. There's nothing more in terms of religious dogma, things like that, because when you look at Chinese culture, because of Taoism, there's an acceptance of just about everything traditionally. And then at that point, you take what you can and you throw away what's not useful. So really, it's this whole scientific inquiry that we have in the modern day, or scientific method. See if it works. If it doesn't work, drop it. And that's basically what was cultivated really through Taoism in terms of its theory and viewpoints on Qigong. So in short summary, Taoism really focused and perfected medical Qigong, health Qigong, and even in terms of more spiritual traditions, it worked on how to work on the body to be healthy enough to say, I am a spiritual being, or I am living a spiritual life. Because if you have good health, by derivative from a Taoist paradigm, that is living a nice spiritual life, because you can reap all the benefits of this life at this time, which is very fundamentally a Chinese thing compared to, say, other philosophical schools of thinking. So that's why there's such an emphasis on health. And though Taoism did pull all these systems together, such as astrology, Chinese medicine, yin yang, five element school, a trigram school, even some Confucian or Buddhist schools, things like that, Taoism really is just, in an essential point, going with the flow, harmonizing your life with nature. Because once you're one with nature, you're one with yourself. Without all the layers, strip away everything, because you don't need it. And if you do need it, it's by choice at that point, and not because of a need that you need it in terms of insecurity. That's the word I'm looking for. Insecurity. At that point, it's a choice if you put on layers, because at that point, it's fun. And when you're one and connected to the universe, the Tao, yourself, the energy body, all these types of things from a Qigong perspective, your life simply just gets better. So being in the moment, being present, enjoying everything, and just going with the flow. That's essentially Taoism distilled in a really, really small nutshell. It could be extrapolated much, much more, but we can really view Taoism as just go with the flow. So for more information on Qigong in general, or just theory, go to TorontoQigong.com, subscribe below, And if you have any information that you would like to hear about, do comment or email me, and then I'll take a look at it. So I'll see you all at the website then. Thank you.